Good afternoon, everyone. June 2nd, 2025. We're 15 days from the deadline. I'm John Cormier, the petitioner for the class action against the city of Longueuil and the estate of Francois Lemar. I want this to be a quick video. I'm going to try and blow through it as quickly as I can, but it is detailed, so I'm going to have to refer to some notes. At first, I want to clear up a few points that I'm getting from victims who have been reaching out over the last week to 10 days. I just want to clear a few points up, and then I'm going to put up some schematics and read behind them so I can, I'm going to have to, there's just too detailed, so I'm going to have to refer to the notes. But I just, first and foremost, I want guys to know that, number one, some are confused that they think that they have to come up with very, very specific days and times when they may have been assaulted by this coach. Nobody has that level of recall and memory. It's 40, 50 years ago. No one's going to recall saying, you know, it happened on January 14th at 4:50 in the afternoon type of thing. No. What's required of you and what's been required of me from the very start, and that includes with police, my police reports, it is a general area of time. So say in my Pee-wee year, maybe you can come up with my Pee-wee year, and I think that was between 1971, 72, as I recall. We can work from that, okay? But if anybody wants to reach out to me, I put my contact details online. I'll do it again, okay? The second thing that I want to address is that it seems every guy in the last week has said the exact same thing to me. It's not about the money. Well, guys, guess what? The entire lawsuit is only about the money. That's what it is. There's nothing left. The guy died. There's nothing left to do. So you got to keep in mind that money equals validation, all right? It's time for a little peace in your life, and I want you to keep in mind that elected officials and town police, town workers, volunteers, parents, other coaches, everybody saw what was going on right in public. And a lot of them thought it was kind of funny. They laughed at this. So yeah, it's about the money, because that's it. That's all there is left now, guys. That's how you teach people a lesson, sadly, is you've got to get lawyers and you've got to make it about the money. Third thing I want to address is memories. A little bit of confusion here. The fact that you're remembering these things after 40, 50 years does not mean that your mind is playing tricks on you, and that you're confused by your memories and thoughts. No, it's because these incidents have been buried as a protective mechanism to get you through life. It's safety. I mean, it was such trauma as a child, so they've been buried, and now they're surfacing, and they're surfacing in real time. So, and they possibly are flooding back in real time. So naturally, you're thinking, oh, I'm making that up. No, you're not making it up. They're coming to the forefront of your mind again for the first time in decades. So give yourself a break and listen to your memories, because they are real. They're not being tricked. You're not being tricked by false memories here. Fourth thing I really want to address is that if you've heard anywhere by anyone who has trivialized, maybe on TV news reports, you know, that this coach was grabbing over clothing and really played it down and minimized it, it did victims a big disservice to hear this stuff on the news, okay? I know perhaps it wasn't intended that way, but the end result is it caused a great deal of confusion, and it caused guys to be afraid to come forward. So the best I can tell you is what Emily so eloquently described about a week or week and a half ago, and I'm going to put that video in here for you again. She gives you what constitutes sexual assault in Quebec to a T. So don't listen to anybody. Don't let anyone try to tell you that it was nothing. It was something. And it was grade 1, perhaps, when you were wrestling in the arena, but there are a lot of victims where it was not grade 1. This escalated. So if you were in a car, if you went bike riding, if you had to, his line was always, let's just stop by my house, I forgot something. That was his way to get you to the next level. And if you were in the next level, you were in a danger zone. And I mean, if you're confused by it, reach out to me, Emily, Pierre, or Robert. I'm going to post all of their contact info again, and we'll explain it to you in more detail. Okay?
Sure, John. I'm happy to speak on that, and it's a great question. So. You're right. We're really talking about a very vast range of sexual assaults. I think it's helpful to remind people that the Quebec government defines sexual assault as all forms of sexual touching of genitalia, buttocks, thighs, whether it's over, under clothes, groping. Of course, there's masturbation, penetration, and voyeurism and such. But we've heard from countless victims that Frank would often play fight with children and use this as an opportunity to grab their genitalia. And we absolutely consider this to be sexual assault. It's clear to us that Frank perpetrated these acts for his own personal sexual gratification. And so the people that have had that experience should absolutely complete a claim form and speak to us if they have any questions. Ultimately, of course, it's the adjudicator that is named by the court that will decide whether any specific case constitutes sexual assault, and she will assess this both by reading the text of the claim form, but most importantly by meeting with these victims in a completely confidential and very safe environment. Lastly on this point, I think it's important to remind everyone that it's been long recognized that sexual assaults, especially assaults against children and minors, automatically cause harms to victims. So even a victim that does not think that what he or she suffered was quote unquote that bad, or whether they don't even know if they've suffered harms at all, automatically the Supreme Court of Canada has said that sexual assault constitutes and perpetrates harm. So those people as well should absolutely submit a claim form, and we'll be happy to walk them through every step of the process.
Okay. Now, I'm going to put a couple of schematics up on the screen, and I'm going to read in behind them here. And the first one is about trauma. This is something that my wife created. She's been working in this for quite a while. She's brilliant in this. She's been very, very helpful to me. So one thing that she's taught me, which is so amazing, is that it's never what is wrong with you. It's what happened to you. So you look at somebody and their the odd behavior. It's not normal. It's not natural. Someone who's maybe obese. Why is that person overeating and abusing themselves in that manner? There's always a reason for it. So I'm going to just read through some quickly here. Self-destructive behavior, substance abuses, alcohol or drugs, eating disorders, hypervigilance, little or no memory, perhaps there's intrusive memories, dissociation, chronic pain and headache, emotional overwhelming, panic attacks, shame, self-hatred, startle response, nightmares, flashbacks, hopelessness, decreased concentration, which is school issues that I've mentioned a few times on the videos, insomnia, numbing, loss of interest in things that you loved. You would lose interest in it. Personally, lost interest in golf. I hope to get that back. And that's because this coach was the one who got me into golf. So I just wanted to share that story of why I'm losing interest in things. And extreme irritability is another byproduct of trauma. Second slide I'm going to put up here is about childhood trauma as well. Another one that my wife had created. You're 2 times more likely to develop depression having been sexually assaulted as a child. You are 3 times more likely to develop anxiety disorders. Long-term impacts. You have perception of reality that has been affected. You might have relationship problems. You feel unsafe. You feel helplessness. Serious behavior problems. We're going to move along to another schematic that I'm actually going to have to create for this part, but it's the long-lasting consequences of child sexual abuse. And just some quick stats off the top. Estimated 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys will experience sexual abuse before they turn 18. Now, my experience over the last 5 to 8 years with a variety of PhDs specifically in this area of study, 1 in 6 with boys is very low. And the reason that is guys don't talk, and I'm experiencing that right now, trying to get victims to come forward in this case. Another startling one is 8% will reoffend if they don't receive the help. If they were sexually abused as children, 8% will reoffend as adults. Again, that one I'm told is low. There are physical consequences to childhood sexual assault. Many studies have examined the long-term psychological impact of childhood sexual assault. A recent research review of over 4 million people found that those who experience childhood sexual assault are between 2 and 3 times more likely to experience the following disorders compared to adults who were not abused: borderline personality disorder, depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and eating disorders. Childhood sexual assault is also strongly linked to drug and alcohol abuse, which makes perfect sense. There is, it's a numbing effect. It takes you away from your issues and your problems, but only temporarily. It actually makes things worse long term. You're 2.5 times more likely to make a suicide attempt than people who have not been abused. Now, in Greenfield Park, I believe I've been told up to 5 people have unfortunately committed suicide, and coincidentally after being coached by this guy. So please be very, very aware of that. And there was something in the news this week about a high-ranking official at ESPN who they said died of depression. You don't die of depression. You act out on that depression and you commit suicide. So be very, very careful with those thoughts. Childhood sexual assault alters the brain structure and the chemistry. So what it does is that it changes the course of a child's life at a very, very young age. One study has found that on average, 9.2 years from the time of the abuse, people will experience some form of depression. And 8 years after an abusive episode, the onset of PTSD. Other physical consequences of childhood sexual assault. Numerous studies have shown that there are long-term impacts to physical health and those experienced with childhood sexual assault. Across the studies, adults who experienced childhood sexual assault were 1.35 to 2.12 times more likely to report health problems such as poor overall health, pain, fibromyalgia. I knew I was going to trip on that one. Fibromyalgia. Man, that was a tough one. I apologize. Gastrointestinal symptoms, gynecological symptoms, cardiopulmonary symptoms, obesity, and even cancer. Several victims that I've spoken with over time have told me about at least some of these symptoms. So it's a very, very real thing, guys. It's you can't continue to press these thoughts and these memories deep down and not expect it to cause some kind of health issue along the way. It's got to come out. So it's much better to be honest and speak about it. Speak about it with the lawyers to start, because you're in a time crunch here, a couple of weeks away, and find a good healthcare professional who is has an expertise in the field of childhood trauma, and not all of them do. So you have to be very careful with who you select as a therapist. As a result of these health problems, adults with a history of childhood sexual assault use healthcare more frequently than those without the history of childhood sexual assault, spending on average 16% more in a year on healthcare costs. The psychological impacts of childhood sexual assault. Researchers have also documented many negative social consequences of childhood sexual assault, including relationship disorders. So that is breakups and divorce, dissatisfaction with their relationship, sexual unfaithfulness and promiscuity, increased sexual dysfunction. A recent study involving 12,252 survivors found that 47.5% of those 12,252 were sexually victimized again in later life. I guess the only way around that is to seek help, know what the signs are, and avoid falling into that trap a second time. The socioeconomic consequences of childhood sexual assault. On average, people who have suffered as a child childhood sexual assault will earn on average $8,000 less per year. Many live in poverty, some are even homeless. Some are less likely to have a bank account, own stock, own a vehicle, or a home. It's a struggle. It's a constant struggle. 3 times more likely to be out of work due to sickness and disability. Many struggle with authority and superiority issues at work. They can't take instruction or direction from others. I get that. I experienced that myself. 14% are more likely to be unemployed in general. Less likely to go to or graduate from college, less likely to have a skilled job. Many lie on resumes to get jobs that they are not qualified to be in. As it is clear in research, childhood sexual assault significantly negatively impacts all facets of life, not only for those who experience childhood sexual assault themselves, but also for their loved ones and society at large. Think about what it does to your families and behaviors and earning loss potentials and travel and living month to month or day to pay. So don't tell me it's not about the money. This affected you at a young age. So let the lawyers help you here, okay? The final topic I want to just hit today really quickly is about gaslighting and what it means. He really confused the town. He gaslit an entire town. He was wrestling and tickling with kids. They were laughing. So obviously, if they're laughing, they're confused. Well, it's not hurting. I'm laughing, so it can't be anything bad. It should be okay. Parents and people who worked in the arena would see it. So the kids would see parents or arena workers watching this coach wrestle and grab their genitals in public. So they didn't stop it. So there's a level of confusion. He gaslit an entire town. He spent this whole summer. He would work night shift, but he spent this whole summer hunting around the pool, around the football field, the tennis courts, the baseball diamonds. He just cruised constantly on his bike. And it was safe for him. This literally was a fox in a hen house. I mean, there were parents even pushing their kids to this guy. It wasn't always him pursuing. They were putting their kids towards this coach. A pretty sick town, all of it at that time. Some people say to let it go. You can't let it go. You got to deal with this. That is the stupidest thing anyone can say. Is it's a long time ago. Let it go. Give me a break. Sorry, guys. I'm struggling here. The last little bit of the message I want to give is that it's not your fault. You were a child. Stop looking at it through your 50-year-old or 60-year-old eyes with decades of life experience. The 10, 11, 12-year-old child that you were when these incidents occurred, you didn't have those life lessons. You didn't have any education on this. I'm not even sure in the 70s that parents knew the word pedophile. They surely couldn't recognize it because they allowed this guy to go for 50 years with no help. So give yourself a break. You were a child, and it's unfair of you to look back through your adult eyes now. Look at the trauma in your life. Look at the joblessness. Look at the broken relationships, and ask yourself what you're going through and why. How can you trace that back? And I think you're going to arrive at exactly what I'm saying. This is childhood trauma at its peak. Pick up the phone, please. Talk to the lawyers. Talk to Pierre. Talk to Emily. And again, remember, you were an innocent child. All right, guys? So I'm going to cut it off here. I rambled on a little more than I'd expected. I want you to know that if, as a first step, you're still uncomfortable speaking to the lawyers, I'm happy to talk with you. I've spoken with many in the last couple of weeks. So please, reach out to me, reach out to the lawyers, but someone's here to help you, okay? And make the call, guys. A couple of weeks away, okay? Thanks for listening. Sorry for babbling on again.